had to start with a clusterfuck of technical issues this week for no apparent reason.
It wasn't too bad.
I mean, I've seen worse for sure.
Yeah.
But like,
well, we've had worse, like when the show only
Yeah.
records through that shitty MacBook microphone.
Yeah, that's my favorite. It always sounds really good because it's just my voice.
Especially when we get to those even 100 episodes and we're celebrating.
I forgot about that. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Outside the Cinema, your weekly source for cult movie discussions. Your hosts, Bill and Chris. We're here to talk about bad movies or movies that maybe are good or maybe they're all right or think you get a little bit of everything this week, maybe.
Yeah, that is a possibility.
It is. I'm so tired today. I'm sorry. I went to see Blink 182 last night and didn't get home until like late. So I'm operating on fumes. And now that we've had a day since the rain that we had, the air's dried out. So now there's all kinds of pollen.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
It was nice. We got like a 24-hour rest period from it, but I could definitely feel it when I got up this morning. So
that sucks.
Let me just turn that off so we're not even worried about that. Mute that channel. All right. Okay. This week on the show, I literally do not remember the name of either film.
What the hell was it? The Levenger tapes?
The Levenger tapes?
Blood on Satan's Claw.
Yes, the Blood on Satan's Claw.
A movie I've been trying to get us to watch for a bunch of years. And it's always like just off of streaming as soon as we get to it. Was it worth the wait? Time will tell.
Yes, time will tell. The last two times I think we went to cover it, it disappeared from Shudder. Yeah. And then I saw it, so I was like, all right, well, let's make sure that we watch this. Yeah. But I watched a bunch of stuff this weekend, so like I was trying to remember what was for the show and what wasn't. I watched 3 different found footage horror movies this weekend, and or 3 total, 2 additional. Something called Horror in the High Desert.
Oh yeah, I have that one on a list to watch.
Yeah, check that.
Any good?
Check it out.
Yeah.
Check it out. I think I want you to watch it first before I tell you what I thought.
All right. Well,
of it.
do you remember the one where the cop was investigating the house and he just decided to have a movie night over the course of 4 movies?
Yes.
Is it better than that?
Oh,
okay, good. Yeah,
yes.
I'm all over it then.
That's one of the worst movies we've covered in the last couple of years.
Oh, I am aware.
That movie was terrible.
I am aware.
I am very aware.
I fucking know that.
And then I also watched this other one called Mr. Creep.
I hadn't heard of that one.
Yeah, it's it's new. Well, like 2022. Well, I mean, Horror in the High Desert was 2021. So, but it was short. It was an hour. I'm like, okay, I'll throw this on. It was okay. It was another kind of a Poughkeepsie tapes type thing about a serial killer, but it's college students, not like professional. Not a professional documentary guy. But I also watched the McGregor Forever Netflix series that just came out. I watched all 4 parts of that.
I figured you would.
I find him fascinating. Because he's such a fucking asshole when he's like getting into the ring and he's like talking shit and like, but then like you see him with his family and his kids and like the way he talks about like what like inspires him and what keeps him and why does he still fight and like all this. And I'm just like, wow, man, it's like, I kind of love you, but then I see you be like a complete D-bag to your opponent and you're basically like, just like awful.
Yeah.
But it's really good. It's actually very well done. It takes place over the last like 4 or 5 years of him going into his fights, starting pretty much from when he fought. What the fuck was the boxer? Mayweather.
Oh, okay.
Floyd Mayweather. Okay. When he did that boxing match with Floyd Mayweather, and then getting back into the UFC. It's good. It's good. I actually watched a bunch of stuff this week. I watched another documentary called Porndemic on Tubi about the HIV outbreak in the late 90s.
Oh, okay.
That was pretty good, I thought.
Not at the time.
No, for the people at the time, and the people now still.
Yeah, yeah. What a great time for AIDS to hit just as I was hitting maturity. So everybody was scared to put their dicks and vaginas anywhere.
I mean, I was a little before that, so I wasn't able to enjoy in the fear.
In 90, I can just comfortably say I turned 18. So for most of the year I was 18. So there you go. It sucked.
I wanted to give a shout out to David David C. He sent me an email saying that he's been keeping an additional list of stuff covered on the show, and he sent me like a file for it. And I know Carl's keeping one going too, nice. And everyone's got their kind of own little thing. And if you go onto Letterboxd, there's a bunch of different lists now too. And then most of you guys probably remember Eric that used to do a music segment for the show. He also had written up a bunch of lists of stuff that we'd covered.
Nice.
On Letterboxd. But I wanted to thank David for doing that. One of our Australian contingent. It is super. He asked, hopefully it's helpful. Yes, it's super helpful. And it's I'll forward it to you, Chris, because he sends it to the general thing. But like he's got like it broken down into episodes, what Joe covered on that episode, if Scott talked about something in that episode. It's pretty intensive, and it's great.
Nice.
It's great.
Very nice.
So thank you very much, David, and we really appreciate that. So I don't think there's anything else. I mean, join the patreon.com/outside the cinema. But that's really it. I kind of just want to get into this stuff this week for the show.
Yeah.
And let's start with the blood on Satan's claw, since it is one that we have been trying to cover for a while.
Yep. Yep.
Here's a trailer. I'm sure there'll be lots of British accents. That's not it. Now, I forgot my thing. I had to restart the thing, so I got to put the reconnect the thing, because as we said, we were having all kinds of fun technical stuff right before the show started.
Yeah, because you didn't touch anything, so why would it? Why wouldn't it be the same?
Yeah, exactly. My board had restarted, so all right. So let's play this.
The grave of the devil is disturbed by the plow. The satanic essence of evil wreaks violent and revolting revenge.
But it weren't human, sir. There were fur.
Then it was an animal's remains.
It were more like some fiend.
And the evil grows quickly, attacking first the youth of the village and making them the devil's children.
Ralph, look.
Oh, God, I prayed I'd never see that again. That's what they call the devil's skin.
Doctor, witchcraft is dead and discredited. Are you bent on reviving forgotten horrors?
How do we know, sir, what is dead?
Blood on Satan's claw was like a horrible disease, highly contagious and deadly dangerous.
Hail, Behemoth, spirit of the dark, take thou my blood, my flesh, my skin, and walk. Holy Behemoth, father of my life, speak now, come now, rise now from the forest, from the
Blood on Satan's Claw stars Patrick Wymark as the judge who tries the devil, Linda Hayden as Angel Blake, daughter of Satan, Barry Andrews as a victim but innocent, Michelle Beatrice as the devil's child, and James Hayter as the village squire.
Thou stole my master's skin. Thou shalt pay with thine.
I think thou could be saved.
These dogs know how to tear the devil's heel.
Thou telltale bitch, thou set the dogs on me. Of course I didn't. Art thou ready to give thy skin tonight? Art thou ready?
Blood on Satan's Claw.
All right, Blood on...
The Festival Circuit's IMDb.
Whoa, stop. Coming at me all wrong. Blood on Satan's Claw, 1971. Directed by Piers Haggard. What is he known for? Conquest, 1998.
Sure.
Pennies from Heaven. Oh, he directed Venom. Or, well, maybe he didn't direct it. It had something to do with Venom. Looks like he did a lot of British television work.
Okay.
I'm just curious if we recognize any of the other stuff. Yeah, a lot of TV work. He did do Venom, which was that weird snake movie we did years ago.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Okay, yep.
He also directed The Fiendish Plot of Dr. Fu Manchu, which we did on the show.
You know what I say to that? Ha! I threw that shit before I came in the room.
I think that is probably about it that we've covered.
Yeah, that's fine.
And now, of course, the Blood and Satan's Claw. So Blood and Satan's Claw, 1971 by 1971, but like via 1960.
Yes,
is what it felt like. Definitely has that strong 60s British horror film, Hammer horror feel to it. They loved in this time period to have the Catholics on top in more the way than one.
Boring missionary.
And the satanic panic that was coming was already kind of brewing, and they kind of used these films almost like kind of like propaganda against like devil worship.
Yeah. This is basically a shitty remake of The Crucible. I mean, really. But it's also an anthology.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I saw that it was originally written as 3 different stories. It was written as an anthology with like 3 different stories, and then they just mushed it into one thing.
Yeah, and then I'm like, oh, okay, well, the people that directed this had no choice. Okay, I see what's going on.
So the story is pretty simple, right? You got a 17th century England. You got a group of children that are being converted into devil worshippers. You got Ralph at the beginning that finds he's got his wagon or whatever, and he's comes across the corpse of an animal he thinks it's human because the eye looks human, but there's fur.
Yeah, and it's like
and he's not
skull,
sure what it is.
So it's like there's no way the eye could survive down there. So it's a mystery.
Yes, all kinds of weird stuff. He brings it to the judge and the church people, and they're like, "Well, it's an animal. Don't even worry about it."
Yeah.
But then one of the little girls gets scratched by the claw, and then there's some blood on Satan's claw.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun is right.
I didn't even give it the drama because it doesn't deserve it. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, it's funny because this is pretty much looked at as a classic in a lot of circles.
Oh, shit, really?
A lot of people. Well, maybe not classic, but a lot of people say it's quintessential British horror.
Fine, that doesn't mean it's good. Fucking The Room is quintessential cult movies, but like it's not good.
No, it's not.
So it doesn't have to be good to be,
I think
to make
one
a
of my
difference.
biggest issues with British cinema from this time period, specifically the horror films, is they have no teeth. Like there's nothing like they're all so pedestrian.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you are looking at the country that like 10 years after this started banning movies. So at the time, if you're going from this Hansel and Gretel happy ending stuff over to, let's see what came out. We got Evil Dead, just the stuff that pops up, the more hardcore stuff that people finally deigned to recognize as existing, and then fucking Mary Whitehouse went batshit on everybody and ruined a whole bunch of lives.
Right. Well, and the thing too is like in this movie in particular, there is some more of the nasty, harder bits to it. There's like there's a rape scene in it, and there's a decent amount of nudity on questionably aged actors.
Yeah.
There was the crap. I can't think of what it was. When they like sacrificed the young girl, and there's some more stuff in it, but it's all very just kind of there.
It's what a person who's never left the house thinks witches do, because they pray to Satan, and like fucking come on, idiots. How many times do I have to tell this show? The devil does not mess with witches.
No, 2 very different things.
Yeah. Yeah. So shut up.
So Linda Hayden is the child. She's probably supposed to be 15 years old or so, I guess. She's the first one that gets the blood in the claw, so she's the one that is like the main leader of the ceremonies and stuff. And as they quickly turn many of the children in the town, and then they kill the ones or sacrifice the ones that they don't want or don't need or that are fighting back. And I guess the whole thing is leading to the resurrection of the devil.
Yeah, because I like the enemies of my God to be able to be summoned by preteens.
Right.
Good job, Satan. Fucking.
Yeah, this is one that I kind of looked forward to watching.
I wanted to see it. I really did.
Yeah, the story of it, like as simple as it is, it sounds intriguing.
Yeah, and then
when I started watching it, I realized it's a British movie, and like just British stuff from this time period. There's some really good stuff. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not shitting all over the whole of British cinema from the 60s and 70s because there's some really excellent films.
Oh yeah,
but there's like this like glut of them. They could all be the same movie.
Yeah.
And you would never know the difference. And this felt to me like it fell into that because it didn't, although it had a nice kind of like atmosphere to it. And I thought the score was pretty good for what they were trying to do. But like, it just it doesn't do anything to set it apart from any of those other films.
Yeah. I checked out at the rape. I gave up on the movie because it was that girl really looked like she was having her clothes ripped off, surprised. Like either she is the best actress in the world or they just filmed that scene and didn't tell her. And I know where my money is. The whole thing was just so the Nova, not the Nova, my daughter, ran the lighting board when they did the Crucible this last week. So the last month of my life has been Crucible. So I know the story pretty well at this point. And I know that this is like a ripoff of it. And I just can't get past, like, I keep saying it, like, bring something fucking new, do something. And this doesn't. It's just, it's the equivalent to me of like Turtle Island. I got a great idea, but let's see how many studio guys can fuck it up. For Turtle Island, it was, I have a great idea. I'm going to go fuck it up now.
I have to say, though, that like the story that they're trying to tell in this is a little different than a lot of the other like quintessential Hammer stuff. They're not, telling another Dracula story but it's one of those things where they are doing it differently, which is great, but it needs more story to it to flesh out what is happening and what these kids are trying to do, because it's never really like, I mean, it's explained, but it's never really dove into why any of it's happening or where it came from or like anything.
Yeah. It's sloppy. It's really sloppy.
And the guys that are supposed to be the good guys come off more evil than the evil kids.
Well,
right?
We're looking at
like
it
the
different.
Judge and
but I think they're supposed to, right? Aren't they supposed to?
I hope so.
Yeah, I feel like
because it's very obvious that they're no better. They're no better.
Right. Well, that's the whole. I mean, when you look back at the real reason it was done, it was to get your enemies out of the way and take their land and run them out of here. Kind of like why the people left in The Witch. Like, I'm not having my wife burned at the stake. Fuck that. And he took off. I don't blame him.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of parts in this too that just like they don't need to be there. Like, there's no connection to what else is going on. I think like a number of scenes.
Yeah.
And it would be like they would go off on something else, and then all of a sudden the evil kids would show up and they'd like take someone.
Yeah. And
then like they would just not talk about what they were talking about before.
Yeah. It reminds me the way you're talking about the way this is the way British cinema, horror movies where you had the Hammer stuff and then this stuff. There was a movie series that I think didn't make it past the 90s, called Carry On, but it was Carry On and then another word after it. So if it was in the Marvel universe, it'd be like Carry On Spider-Man, Carry On Jameson, that kind of thing. And there's like 30 of those. So
really?
Those are like middle ground, kind of. I can't imagine all of them are huge because I've never watched one. They've never made it over here in any meaningful way, but they're also mostly from the 60s and 70s. So there's a, definite joke barrier between them. But when people get comfortable and like a thing and you're making enough money on it, you're just going to keep doing the same thing till it doesn't work. Right?
Mm. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
So safe money. It's like, how do you think this next Insidious movie is going to do? It's going to do fine, right? Because it only costs $40 million to make, and it's going to make back like 100,
like 75 or 80.
Yeah. You got to make those. You got to make these movies here, like these small bets that just like this is a keep the lights on kind of movie.
Mm.
That's at least that's what I've convinced myself.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of other things that we can say about it. So I mean, obviously it lives in the folk horror world, which is kind of like had a big resurgence the last few years. So this feels actually maybe more like something like The Wicker Man than like your like horrors of Dracula, or even like your like the Poe, like the House of Usher and stuff like that. Like it feels more like a Wicker Man type thing. And again, it's just not as good. It's not as well put together. It's not as well written. It doesn't have the mythology behind it that it needs to be. Like maybe the mythology is there, but if you don't tell us,
that's kind of a problem, isn't it?
We can't enjoy it if you don't tell us.
Yeah.
So it's a tough one because I was interested in it. I think the cast is pretty good. Patrick Wymark as the judge is certifiably evil. I think Linda Hayden as Angel, being the leader of the evil kids, is great. And then Margaret, played by Michelle Dautrice, she's excellent too. Is the one that's like captured and they're trying to like turn her away from the devil stuff.
Yeah.
She's really good. But it's just not. There's just not enough stuff there.
No,
there's not enough stuff there.
If they had taken more time, I think, taking the stories, they might have been able to weave them together a little better. But I'm guessing this is just one of those, we ran out of time and we have to deliver, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, probably. All right, Chris, do you recommend, and what is your grade for the blood on Satan's Claw?
Well, I'm going to be honest. The sexual assault in this was not needed at any point for the plot. It wasn't. I don't believe it was part of the ritual. But then again, I mean, if you follow the tenets of Satanism, there's no raping. That's against the rules, like the 10 rules, unlike some other religions. And so what happens then? I'm not even going to remember what this movie's about. Fuck this. I'm not expending any emotional energy on that anymore. So no, I'm not going to recommend it. There isn't even enough to bring this up out. I mean, you can watch any other movie and see these exact costumes because, they only had like 75 costumes for all the movies they made.
Right.
That's why they were all set in this time period. And I give it a D-.
D-.
I probably should fail it, but nah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm not going to recommend it either. There's too many other films from this time period, other British films that are much better at doing what these guys are trying to do with this. I mean, inherently, it looks good. It's shot well. It's got a pretty good score for what they're doing, but it just doesn't give you anything that you're not going to get in another flick like The Wicker Man or any of those folk horror films from this time period.
Done better. Also.
Yeah, and that's almost like even worse than it just being really bad.
Mm. Yeah.
Like it doesn't offer anything. It's just milquetoast, you know? It's
Yeah.
like,
yeah. But that's different than something like, you know how some people do the I remade this trailer on $20. You know, that's showcasing ingenuity because you don't have a lot of money. It's not showcasing a script and actors you're trying to promote to make money. That's something funny you put on YouTube. So I'm okay with that stuff.
Right. So as far as a grade, I'll give it a D. I won't go to D minus because, like, again, I said, you know, there's nothing wrong.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot wrong, but like
that's true. Yeah, it is.
There's
correct.
nothing that's like inherently like I can't believe you fucking did this type deal, you know?
Yeah, I can't see it even coming up in conversations about devil movies either.
Yeah, it's just like there's too many other things. The Devils is like 1,000,005 times better.
Oh my
than this.
God, yeah. Yeah. And then you want to get real weird and maybe have something be about the devil. Watch Black Moon, because that can be pretty much about anything you want.
Yeah.
A Field in England, I don't recommend it if you have epilepsy, and I am not fucking kidding. That's not a joke. That movie will kill you if you have seizures from flashing lights. Dead serious.
Speaking of
okay, I just wanted to make sure. I joke around a lot. I don't want somebody to get hurt.
Sense of humor.
Yeah, I'm
no sense of humor.
I'm trying to make this as clear as possible. So there we go.
Fair. All right. We'll move on to the second film.
I guess.
And that was even quick for us.
Yeah. That's what she
2013.
said.
What?
Nothing.
Oh, all right. 2013. The Levenger tapes. This is a found footage horror flick. We haven't done one for a little while, and I had come across this, and it fits the 10-year rule.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, let's give this a whirl. Here's a trailer.
So we don't even know what we've got yet. Roll the tape.
What is this place?
I guess this is like an old burial ground.
So you brought us out in the middle of the night to walk to some Indian cemetery?
So we haven't been attacked by any evil spirits yet, right?
Councilman reported missing over 24 hours ago. The mayor wants us on this ASAP.
What was that? I don't think we're alone. Oh my God, someone's watching us.
We have to fast forward through this. We still have kids out there. But hold it. Go back.
Did you see that?
Go! There's something really wrong with this place.
Time is running out. Go!
All right. The Levenger tapes.
Hey, here's something really funny. I called it up on IMDb just to have it in front of me, as usual, right? And the trailer for it started the same time you started the audio. So I'm over here trying to figure out why I'm hearing it synced up to the image I see. I'm like, oh shit, that's not gonna work. Anyway, that was just weird.
All right.
And that's more interesting than this movie.
I was definitely playing the trailer off of IMDb. So, so the director, I was looking at his stuff here, Mark Edwin Robinson, and he has a film on here called Breaking Dawn, and I thought it was the Twilight movie. I'm like, somebody gave this guy like $200 million, and no, it's definitely not.
No,
it's a different film. His director credits are something called Haunts in 2020, something called Tie Dye, The Levenger Tapes, and I Will Follow You into the Dark.
Okay.
In that Breaking Dawn movie. So not familiar with much of his stuff.
No.
But I found this one interesting because they did the thing that we like to kind of see them do, which is they try to present these found footage film in a bit of a different light.
Yes.
By weaving in a actual narrative to it.
Right. I've seen
which allows allows for rules to be broken because you're not presenting it as we found these tapes and that's all there is.
Right. There's a reason we're watching them in the order we are. So good.
Right.
Good.
And they break in, so the cops break in, and one of the cops is played by Chris Mulkey, who's been in 1,000,005 things. Whiplash, Captain Phillips. I mean, he's a face that you immediately recognize when you see him. He was in Twin Peaks and Castle Rock and all kinds of stuff. He's the only recognizable face, but Joanna Brady, Lily Majornik, and Morgan Krantz play the 3 college students that are on their spring break. They are traveling to chase his family's house that they have apparently in the middle of nowhere in like the deserts or something.
Yep. It's out in Skinwalker County it's on Area 51 Road. It's a Hangar 18 house. Fucking come on.
Pretty much.
Sorry.
Pretty much.
Sorry. I don't have a lot of patience for this one.
No, it's funny though because they were so like the film opens up with we get kind of the reprisal of the stuff that comes at the end of the movie, but without the context, you have no idea what any of it means.
Right.
We then meet the three police, and they let us know that they've got one person in holding and all these videotapes that they believe has something to do with what happened. There's a number of different stories kind of woven into this. There's a girl that was kidnapped. There's a priest that is reported her kidnapping. There's also another criminal or something that's brought into it briefly. But there's a number of different things going on, which is kind of nice that it's, they're thinking ahead of things that they're going to do. And when they start to make some twists and turns, you legitimately are able to kind of buy into some of that stuff because you've been given this other information, which was nice because a lot of these low budget, and this was put out by Lionsgate, believe it or not.
Yeah, well, distributed, right? They did
distributed by Lionsgate. Yeah. But I mean, we know in a lot of those low budget found footage movies, like there's just like they use the fucking crutch of it being a found footage film to not have to tell you anything, which in terms still ruins your fucking narrative. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. But this also breaks one of your huge pet peeve rules too.
It does. Would you like to tell the audience what it is?
Yeah, it's they filmed all this on like mini DV tapes or something, right? And they dump it onto VHS. They specifically say we transferred this to VHS. And did you guys know that VHS can do 1080p? Because I didn't. But this movie taught me that.
Yeah. It wasn't as glaring as some that we've seen.
Well, no,
it's of the like.
It's not filmed from 70 years ago in the middle of a war.
No. Or what was it was the one with the cop in the house that was like
the fear tapes.
Yeah, the fear tapes, whereas like everything was on VHS, but very obviously recorded on digital. But either way, whatever.
Yeah.
So they do try to bring in some other narrative stuff into this. And the 3 of them are going off on their little spring break. I'm gonna be honest. The 3 of them going together makes no fucking sense because they kind of like show that Chase is kind of pining for Amanda, who's the blonde girl, and then their friend Kim is also coming along. I don't know why they're going. I don't know like what their plan is.
Yeah.
Like they're just like everyone else went away for spring break and we're going to this house in the middle of the like desert or whatever.
Yeah, and we're supposed to get all of our character development and be comfortable with the characters after a car ride introduction. I don't know who these fucking people are still.
Right. We know that they're college students.
Right. Well, we're being told they're
in a
college
class with
students.
Amanda.
Yeah.
But it's very much seen that Kim doesn't know Chase really. And Amanda doesn't even seem to barely know him either, kind of in the way they're like, oh, like they're in class together.
Yeah.
I'm like, why are you guys going on vacation with him?
Yeah, that's just stupid. Where are their parents to say, hey, think about that, ding dong?
College.
Yeah, make dumb decisions in college. Don't make that dumb decision, for God's sake.
So Chase, they're basically like, oh, we're gonna get drunk because of course that's the smart thing to do.
Yeah. Well, if he gets the girls drunk, then he's thinking he can stick his penis into something.
Yes, specifically
the
Amanda.
wall socket.
that could work too.
Yeah.
But so they go to a small store. He attempts to steal a bottle of rum, and when they're leaving, they're trying to. He's like, let's go. And so like Amanda puts the car, and the two girls didn't know that he was going to try to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Puts the car in reverse and turns around and drives directly into like a truck. And then that's where we get the tape pauses and we get back to the police and they're like, hey, go back a couple frames. And they go back a few frames. And again, this goes along with the transfer to VHS, but for some reason it's in high definition.
Yeah.
And they see this little girl that's been kidnapped, but they can't make out who she's with.
Sure.
So now they're like, well, we got to look for this little girl. And we also don't know where the college students are. And so two of the cops are just like, well, let's just go out there. And then the guy that's, I guess, the older cop or the higher level cop is like, we need to watch these tapes because there's going to be clues in the tapes.
Yeah, but other people can still go out and look. That's the thing I don't understand about movies and real life. Two things can be happening at the same time. Mm-hmm. Like you can have cancer and a broken rib. That's possible.
Right. No, it's true. Also, say they know that something really bad is going on out there, and they send one police officer to the scene to investigate, but yet 3 people are watching the videotape.
Oh, yeah, because don't worry, Batman will save them. Fucking people.
So we now know that this kidnapped girl is in play. Amanda's freaking out because basically Chase talked her into doing a hit and run because they just drive off. They eventually get to the house.
This is just every fucking cliche revenge thing in the beginning. It's so stupid. I'm the kind of dick, though, that if you ran out of a liquor store yelling, I stole the blah, 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 I would drop my keys and be like, ah, shit, if I just met you.
Right.
And I'd be like, I don't know what key it is. Oh, shit. Oh, you're caught. Bye.
I can't, and she's just giving me that. I can't believe you got me into this.
Yeah.
So
the girls are very passive in this whole thing.
Yes.
They're given nothing to do.
Also, this film violates one of those kind of rules, despite the fact that we were like, oh, it kind of set itself up so it doesn't have to follow the rules, but it still does.
Yeah.
No reason to be filming any of the stuff he's filming.
Right. Right.
At least in the front half. They do get a reason later on because the film has a light and it has a infrared function on it. But early in the film, there's no reason for him to film himself going into that liquor store and stealing a bottle. Like, he films himself committing a crime.
Yeah. That would have been better told from outside of the liquor store, because then it's a surprise and everybody's scrambling because a guy's coming out with a shotgun yelling at you. Yeah, you're going to run. And then you find out later. That's how normal movies do it. But this one said, nah, let's not subvert their expectation. Whatever. Shit on them. Let's do that.
We call that dumping on celluloid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or sorry, transferred to VHS.
Yeah.
So they get to the house, they have some drinks, they argue a little bit or whatever, and they think somebody's in the house. They hear some noises. They look out the window, they see a fire off in the distance because there's nobody around for miles. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
These people buy, like, I don't know a lot of people that buy these houses that are literally in the middle of nowhere and like there's no other houses nearby.
Yeah, even when my dad knew this guy who had a cabin up in Maine on a lake, and it was secluded as fuck, but there were houses like 500, 1,000 feet on each side. So,
I mean, I'm not saying that it couldn't happen, but
right?
It just seems to happen way too much.
Yeah, we're talking. This is like a cabin fever cabin. Like they're walking through the woods and they're like, let's just put a house here. Okay, good. Let's just keep going. Let's not stay there. Just wanted a house there. It looks nice. Right.
So they decide that they're going to go out and find the fire, and because they think because they can see the truck, and they're like, oh, it's the guy that you hit, and so we should go try to apologize or like try to make peace or whatever. But they see the little girl too, and then they go down there and they hike their way there, and you get a whole lot of the like scared in the dark stuff and, you know, sneaking up on people and all that stupid stuff.
Yeah.
They eventually get down there, but the weird thing is once they get there, the fire is out, the truck is gone. But they do find the little girl's dress and her hair tie. So now Amanda's all like, oh my God, we got to call the police, blah, 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 blah. But of course, there's no cell phone service or any of that stuff.
Right.
They still feel like they're being watched in the woods or whatever, and they get back to the house. But then for whatever reason, and I don't even remember because I was annoyed at this point, Chase is like, oh, I'm going to go out to the Indian burial ground because this is like a big nature preserve. It's a nature preserve because it's an Indian burial ground. So I'm just going to walk out to the Indian burial ground.
At night, right? Is this the at night part? Yeah.
Yeah, by himself.
Sure.
Like, so the girls end up going with him. They sneak up on him and scare the shit out of him. And then as they're going on, they feel like they're being followed. There's a point in one of the few really effective scenes in the film where Chase disappears. Like he thinks he hears somebody or he thinks he sees something and he kind of just disappears. And then the two girls are on their own and they switch on the infrared on the camera and you see all these eyes watching them. Which like, and it looks like, what do they call it? Eye glow or eye shadow or whatever. Eye glow.
The reflection from the inside of the animal's eye. Yeah.
Yep. You see a bunch of people a bunch of animals surrounding them, and then some kind of weird stuff starts to happen. People disappear, they reappear. You know, they're attacked by something. The police are watching the tapes, and they see that there's something else or somebody else out there. Chase eventually, spoiler alert, not dead, shows back up, and then I thought maybe he was behind the whole thing, and then they throw another wrench into it, and don't really explain what's going on, and then you find out there's like a third force that's involved, but then there's another force that's like the actual like, and it gets. I will give them credit that they did a really good job of kind of keeping you guessing a little bit with exactly what was going on, and they actually follow through, which is surprising for a film like this, with presenting you with things early in the film and then actually following up on them later in the film.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of stuff does lead to nowhere. I'm J.J. Abrams, and I put this in because it looks neat.
Right.
Thanks.
They actually, like, you know, they brought the little girl's kidnapping up, and they brought the priest up, and they brought the criminal stuff up, and then they're able to follow up on it later on and pay it off later on.
Yeah.
But where my issue is that a lot of the stuff that they do to get there, they then leave out some pertinent information because, like, I was convinced that Chase was like a bad guy, and I'm still not convinced that he wasn't.
Right. Yeah.
But there's no real. It's like, well, why is he holding that knife? And why is he being so like weird? And then there's a couple points where like he talks to the camera about how like he's going to play a prank on these girls or whatever. And then you're like, well, maybe he's actually like a psychopath. But then they sort of present that, but then they don't follow up with it. So they do a good job of rounding back around to some stuff, but then they also do leave a large number of kind of like those like strings kind of just hanging there.
Yeah. Well, you clearly got more out of it than I did.
Yeah, and I think
it's making me
the blood
tired now
claw
just
so much.
Talking about it. Blech.
Well, is there a point where they even the Levenger tapes like?
I don't
Levenger,
know.
What's Levenger? Like it doesn't.
I didn't even bother to look that part up.
Yeah, and this is very much a Blair Witch clone type film too, with the college students and like the stuff. And I watched a couple other found footage horror movies this weekend. I'm confusing them in my head, and I was about to say something about one of the other ones, and I was like, no, that wasn't this movie. So, but I mean, overall, there's definitely
Katie. Was that the kid? The little kid? Was that her name?
Maybe
because her last name is Levenger.
Okay. Yes. Oh, yes. Katie Levenger. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Good.
Yeah. So
do the thing.
All right, Chris, do you recommend, and what is your grade for the Levenger tapes?
Nah, I'm not going to recommend. I think this would nobody would ask me for recommendations after this. If they said recommend me a good found footage movie, they'd be like, dude, are you okay? I'd be like, no, really, I'm not. But anyway, no, I don't recommend this. Because I found it quite boring, and I fell asleep 3 different times watching it.
Nice.
The characters are jerks. It's just all around, like, it's just too amateurish. Like, not amateurish enough where it's charming. It's amateurish enough to, like, maybe you should have looked at your dailies and tried again. I don't know. It just didn't do it for me.
On this, what are you talking about?
Well, they would watch the stuff they filmed, right?
Maybe.
Well, you have to edit. But anyway, it just did nothing for me. And you want to know the weird thing? I'd watched this before.
Had you?
That's what Amazon said. Or wherever it was. Where was this one? Was it Amazon?
I watched it on Tubi.
Okay. I forget. I don't know.
I mean, it looks like it's one of those ones that's on a bunch of different ones.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not worth your time. It's boring. The other one with the other kids that were in the other movie that was exactly like this, that was at least a little bit better, but it was still bad.
That was Evil Things, right?
It might be, yeah. And it wasn't very evil. There were things though. So that was all right. But yeah, you gotta really try to sustain the tension level. And this just doesn't have any. It's just a bunch of assholes yelling at each other half the time.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
Okay. Did you give it a grade?
Oh, yeah, I guess I gotta do that. D+.
I was gonna make you, but D+. Okay. But it was better than Blood in Satan's Claw then.
A little bit, yeah. Because no one was raped as far as I can remember.
It's true. All right.
And there was no questionable age nudity either.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think I can really recommend it either. It's super middle of the road. Super middle of the road, which is almost worse than being terrible, as we said with the other film. I did like that they brought the cop story into it to kind of like drive it along a little bit more. So you were like, they were able to kind of lead you into some things as opposed to just kind of having to accept what's going on.
Yeah, they were good for technical exposition, which was nice.
Yes, agreed. I agree with that. What is happening here?
I don't know what's happening.
I don't know. I keep hearing this weird beat. You don't hear that? That must only be on the thing. All right. Well, let me just close this thing down so that I don't have to hear it again. All right. Yeah. So I like that they tried to do some stuff. I appreciate that they gave us information and then actually followed through on rounding back around to it. But it's still just like a lot of like walking around aimlessly in the woods and a couple of random parts here and a couple of random parts there that are effective. The effectiveness is just really undone by the fact that like everything is spread out too much.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the conclusion, however a satisfying conclusion as it is, I think it was too little too late.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not going to grade it quite as low as you. I will give it a C-. But again, you're only watching this if you really, really like found footage films and want to just kind of, like you'll watch anything that's and we're kind of like that. We'll watch anything that's a found footage film. We might talk about how bad it is afterwards, but I'll give almost anything a shot. So it's okay. It's thoroughly okay, which is almost worse than being really bad.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Because it's just not memorable.
Right. Correct. All right. Here we go. Joe's back. Starting a new series this week.
Well, hello, Bill. Hello, Chris. And hello, OTC Nation. It's your boy Joe here. And this week, Bill took me to Japan for an American remake of a Japanese film. Nice touch. He made me watch The Grudge. Okay, I'm going to assume that I'm the only motherfucker listening to this podcast who has not seen this film.
Oh, wow.
I know it was very popular. So most to all of my statements here will be operating under that assumption. That said, spoiler alerts all around.
Fair.
That also said, did they fly Bill Pullman to Japan and presumably pay him something to be in 20 seconds of a film? Like, he doesn't even say anything. He's just looking sad on a balcony, and a pretty attractive lady, like, gets out of bed and is like, oh, well, you're up early. And then he does his best Jan Hampel impression onto the pavement, presumably affecting something later on in the story, But not knowing what that is yet, the only thing he's affected so far is the commute of some innocent people just trying to go to fucking work. And now they got to walk around noted character actor Bill Pullman, who's splattered on the pavement.
Yeah.
The Jan Hampel reference was just for me.
That's fair.
I found him while Googling for a joke one time for something a long time ago. And now anytime I make a joke about diving or have to make an analogy about diving, I just use him because he's pretty obscure in an already reasonably obscure sport.
That's true.
Jan Hampel was the bronze medal winner in the men's diving competition at the 2000 Sydney Olympics.
Oh, good for him.
See? That joke only popped one person, and you're listening to him. Sometimes you just got to do something for yourself. We're in Japan, and some fucking round eye family moved their catatonic Meemaw halfway around the world and then burdened the Japanese healthcare system with her. Really nice. This nice young lady named Yoko is just doing her fucking job when she hears a creepy noise in the house. She looks up into the attic crawl space, and she gets jump scare killed by like a pale-faced woman. Presumably one of the ghosts. My concern here is the safety last attitude of Yoko here. She is in a cobweb infested, and listen, when I say cobweb infested, it's more cobweb than crawl space at this point.
It's the origin of
she's
cobwebs.
Looking around with a plain old cigarette lighter. Now, I'm sure in a country known for its efficiency that the fire response here is going to be great, but still. Like, just change Nana's diaper. Don't burn down my house, please and thank you.
The spiders spin
then
fire
Buffy
retardant
Summers
silk.
shows up, and now I'm just like, well, okay, now none of this is scary because fucking Buffy's here.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to be scared while a goddamn Slayer is hanging around taking a sponge to Grandma. She's not only taking the burden of this elderly old bag off my hands, but when a ghost girl leaving drain-clogging amounts of hair everywhere shows up, Buffy's just going to go into Wolverine mode and we get a fucking show. Seriously, though, I'm making jokes, but this is, at least so far, a slow burn, but yet well-paced ghost story. Even if the scariest part so far is the lack of fire safety and my PTSD from previous drain clearing jobs because my wife has hair down to her lower back. We flash back to when the annoyingly upper middle class Gaijin family moves into the haunted house. Almost immediately shit gets weird, and just like the whitest of white people, they just stay in the goddamn house. It's good to see Clea Duvall, though. She's an actor that I always enjoy seeing. She is quickly incapacitated by the angry spirit, and her husband is all like, oh, honey, what's wrong? For like way too long of a time before the ghost kid shows up. And listen, I'm going to go back to my Scary Movie 3 review for a moment. I'm not saying that if a child unexpectedly shows up in your house, that you should just punch that child in its stupid child face. I am saying that as a property owner, you have certain rights, and you can play it off as, hey, the kid surprised me. I'm real sorry there, bud.
Nice and
There's
legal.
a filler part. Oh, BT dubs, spoiler. Everyone in the American family, except Nana, was iced by the two ghost kids who need a lozenge. No big. There's a filler part with the sister of the Gaijin family, and she's being stalked by the ghost kids for some reason. Like, for some reason, she has something to do with all this, but she doesn't. She is, however, a whole-ass adult who, under freaky circumstances, goes and hides in her bed like a child. What the fuck? You deserve to die at this point. C above, punch it in the face. You know what nobody ever tries in these movies? You know, this is different. Here's an alternative to punching it in the face. You know what nobody ever tries in these movies? The ghosts like fuck with people for like a pretty good while before actually killing them here. Nobody ever tries fighting freaky with freaky. The ghost kid shows up and like stares at you and just stare back and start rubbing your nipples and speaking in tongues. Or pretend like you're just super happy to see it. Like it's an old friend that's coming over to your house for a dinner party and just start making cookies. Like maybe the ghost kid just wants one more snickerdoodle before shuffling off into the great beyond. You don't know because you didn't exhaust all of your options. You just hid under your covers like a fucking pussy. Getting serious for a moment, Ryo Ishibashi, an actor who you will recognize if you like Japanese films, plays Detective Nakagawa here, and in my opinion, is the most interesting character in the film and kind of the glue that binds all of the different aspects of the plot together. He plays it like he's haunted by all of these events separately from the haunting, and I honestly found myself paying closer attention whenever he was on the screen. Whoa. Sorry about that. I almost started doing an actual movie review there.
Almost.
So, turns out that the lady ghost was in love with Bill Pullman, who was like her college professor. Her husband goes into a jealous rage and killed her and the kid and the cat for some reason.
Got to be thorough.
And because of the extreme sorrow and revenge or rage of the situation, they created a curse that kills anyone who makes contact. When I cared about football, I was a Detroit Lions fan.
Oof.
My extreme sorrow and rage didn't create foggy-voiced ghosts. It just created high blood pressure. Here's the thing. The good. Ghost stories are not normally my flavor of movie, but this one, it was pretty solid. I didn't get bored or find it too ridiculous. The bad. If these ghosts have physical fucking form, like they grab people and they rip poor Yoko's jaw off. If they have a physical form, you can punch them in their physical, stupid ghost fucking faces. Yet nobody tries. The Grudge gets a surprisingly big pass. I genuinely enjoyed this film. Let's see if that holds up next week when I watch The Grudge 2. Until then, be good, everyone.
Yeah, one of the things I remember about the original U.S. version of The Grudge, not Ju-on, is that it's overly complicated in places where it doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
But overall, I remember the first one being very good. I think the second one was solid.
That little surprise of the ripped off jaw in a PG-13 movie was a nice surprise. Yeah. That was good. That was a really nice surprise.
Speaking of nice surprises, here's Scott.
Nope.
Speaking of
What?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
With Reverend Scott.
You should have just snorted a whole tree. You would have got off better.
Hey there, Bill and Chris. This is Reverend Scott, and welcome to the first of 2 segments I'm making this single week so I can go on vacation next week without there being any interruption in the holy shit experience on the show. I don't really have time to be making 2 this week, but the listeners deserve it.
Well, he thinks he's doing the right thing, but it's just a dumb decision.
Yeah.
So let's get this dumb decision rolling because I have a new movie to talk about based on true events. But first, let's talk about time travel and a psychopath child. Starting with the trailer for 11 a.m. Except I don't have time to listen to all that shit, so let's just skip to the end.
Okay, then.
So tell me a little bit more about 11 a.m., Bill. What is it?
A Korean time travel movie.
Yeah.
Cool. But why are they doing time travel?
There's a lot of ulterior motives for people to, go to the future to find cures for things and such.
Which, by the way, isn't that like the definition of a time paradox?
Yep.
Because if the cure for a disease only exists in the future, so you time travel there to get it and take it back in time and cure the disease in the past, why would anyone in the future need to discover the cure? So it wouldn't have been created, but then there wouldn't be a cure in the future to go get, so they wouldn't have gone. I don't know. I guess that doesn't mean you can't like the movie anyway. I mean, I like Terminator, but Terminator doesn't make sense either. How could John exist to send his own dad back in time to conceive John if John isn't born yet? Ugh. Maybe if Chris explains how the time travel in this movie works, that might help it make more sense to me.
We have this magical sloth, and if he farts 3 times in a row, you go back in time 2 days.
Okay, now I get it. And I give the magical sloth an A, and I give the review a B. Next, we have a far less Korean and far more not time travel movie called Poison for the Fairies. Tell us all about it, Bill.
It's pretty simple. You got 10-year-old Flavia, who is a not a spoiled rich girl, but she's a girl that has money. She comes to this new school where she meets Veronica, who is a
bitch.
Got it. The 10-year-old child is a bitch. Very good.
She wanted to make poison, is what it was, and give it to people.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. And she convinced another child to follow along with her as she descended into madness and told everybody she was a witch or something. Sounds great. A-. And I give the review a B-. I'm not sure why. I'm also not sure why I'm not talking about the movie that I saw yet. So, Chris, I'm sure you know all about this one already, but I'm going to have to explain it for Bill's benefit. So, Bill, imagine if hockey was played on a wooden court and the nets were small and high in the air and the puck was a large ball that bounces.
Oh, he's talking about Pyramid,
sticks,
the
you
game
use
from
your
Battlestar
bare
Galactica.
hands, and instead of skates, you use shoes. That's called basketball. That makes sense?
Guess that makes sense.
Good. And for many years, there was a famous basketball player called Michael Jordan, and he had his own line of shoes called Air Jordans, and now he's a billionaire. But I bet even Chris didn't know the story behind how Nike came to be the brand behind Michael Jordan, or under him, like on his feet. Well, that's what I'm going to talk about today. Coming from your boy Amazon Prime is Air, Courting a Legend. Get it?
I get it.
It's a movie about basketball, where none of the actors ever touch a basketball.
All right, you subverted a little bit there. Not much, you just juke to the left a tiny bit, but you put a little bit of thought into that.
Matt Damon plays Sonny, a man working for his buddy Phil Knight, the CEO and creator of Nike shoes, I think. Along with Jason Bateman and the most annoying part of The Fifth Element himself, Chris Tucker. They fight to win over Michael Jordan's mother, played by Viola Davis, in order to score their last chance of ever having a basketball division at Nike ever again. I'll start with the positives. I enjoyed this movie a lot. It's fun to watch, mostly lighthearted, and a snapshot of time right out of 1984. $1 gallons of gasoline, VHS cassettes, beepers, bad hair, and tracksuits. It's well-paced and always kept my interest and kept me laughing throughout most of the movie. And while you'd have to be dumber than me not to know how this thing ends, it does keep you guessing at least a little bit on how it gets there. Here's the negative thing that I have to say, though. Despite how good of a prospect Jordan was in 1984, he was still going into his rookie year in the NBA. That means it was his first year, Bill.
Really?
And at times, Damon will go on and on about Jordan as if he already knows the future. Not like it's 1984 still, but as if it's 2023 and he knows that the audience knows what's in store for this 18-year-old kid already. Not to mention during a speech taking place in 1984, mind you, about a rookie that hasn't even started in the NBA yet, they have B-roll footage cut in of the real Michael Jordan from various highs and lows throughout his entire career. It's the only time during the film that we aren't locked into 1984. While it makes for an emotional moment and drives home the importance of the speech that Damon's making, it kind of took me out of the kind of period piece that they had going on. And Damon was so passionate in what he was saying anyway that I don't think it was really all that necessary.
You didn't need it.
No,
you didn't need it.
But that's just a minor gripe. To be honest, it didn't take anything away from an otherwise incredibly enjoyable movie. I recommend you watch Air, Courting a Legend. and I give it a B+. Well, that's all I got for this week, but make sure you all tune in outside the cinema next week when you get to hear this segment that I made back to this one, and you're just totally not impressed with it at all.
It's nothing special.
No. All that and so much more that's nothing special. But until then, peace and love, guys. Holy Shit with Reverend Scott. It's a segment.
God bless him. He's trying his best. Okay, then. 2 misses this week. Maybe we'll hit next week. Who knows?
We'll see. I don't think we could be more misses this week than,
Yeah, it's been rough. It's been rough. We'll right the ship, I promise. Join the Patreon, patreon.com/outside the cinema. $5 monthly donation to the show goes right back into keeping the show alive. Facebook groups. There's an Outside the Cinema group. Follow Chris and I on... I say it every week. I couldn't tell you the last time that somebody that was like a fan of the show followed me on Instagram. Like, I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah.
I get random fake girl accounts.
Yeah, I get a lot of those
that follow me. And
isn't it really sad to see who people on your friends list fell for the hot girl wanting to be your friend?
Yeah, it is pretty sad.
I'm sorry if I'm making fun of you, but you can get free porn on the internet. You don't need that.
Crazy.
It's just that dude from Borat, the fat dude. It's just him sending you. My name's Stephanie.
You give me a social security number? Yeah. All right, guys.
Speaking of which.
Stop. No, we gotta.
Real quick.
Music's playing.
I know.
We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.